What do you believe the proper tools are that you're using daily to walk out this healing?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
So good to see you.
So happy to be here.
Thank you for being here and just being able to trust this conversation. You are a phenomenal actress. You're a mother. You are an author. You have a devotional.
Thank you.
As well as a host of a podcast that you have.
Yes.
When did you realize that entertainment and arts was something that you wanted to pursue?
My story started when I was 9. I was in a grocery store in Long Beach, which is where I'm from, and this local manager came up to me and asked me, did I want to act? She had been following me around the store with my mom, and I was so talkative. I just kept talking, and so she said, hey, I think your daughter would be good for acting. Would you, be interested? And of course I was like, yes. And that's kind of been my journey ever since. I would like to say it was divine timing or something. But when I started auditioning and I went to the different agencies, I just really loved it. And it was something that I wanted to do. My mom was like, if this is something that you want to do, you have to, get good grades and, this is your thing.
Yeah.
And so I really took that responsibility, and ever since then, it's that was my dream.
Mm-hmm. Is the evolution of your career, the way that it has evolved at such an early age, has it evolved in the way that you expected?
I don't think life ever goes the way you expect it. I remember when I was 13, I had this idea where I was gonna do this dream box. And so I wrote down all the dreams that I had and on these little pieces of paper. And one of them was to be on a TV show, major network, major channel, just all the things that I wanted to do. But I was very, very specific. I have no idea where I got that from. But, and I put it in a box, and everything that I wanted to happen, happened. But I think that, life also takes, unexpected turns and twists.
When those unexpected turns and twists come, how do you react? Because I know for me, the way I react is hold up, wait a minute. I did not know that we were going left. I thought we were going right. And it's oh, you're not in the driver's seat. You're not in control of those turns. You're not in control of your life,
Right.
But it's still a big jolt to make you be wait. So how do you respond in those moments of just the unexpectancy, I guess, if you will?
I think that I've grown to move with the turns and twists and kind of let things go. But I think that has been a journey in itself of letting go of expectations and I feel like I said, I had a plan. These are things I wanted to happen, and then they happen, and then things started as you grow and you mature and life keeps going, things don't go the way that you planned, and so I had to really adjust. That was really hard for me to figure out how to adjust, but I feel like my faith has been such my rock. My foundation, because that's the only thing that's the only thing I've been able to rely on to come back to being stable and to get strength from, to figure out, okay, God, I know I still want to get here, but we're here.
Right.
So how do we get from there? And the beautiful thing about that is even though God, I feel like for me, I know I'm supposed to be here, but he's able to modify how we get there, right? And just because I've made mistakes or I got derailed or I went over here, it doesn't mean that he's not able to bring me back and modify the journey or how I get to that destination. So I think that is, to answer the question, I think my faith and I think growth.
And that's indicative of his redemption power.
Right.
He's a redeemer, you know? And like you said, I have derailed. Like we were just talking before we started, it's like you go left, right, all the different turns, and then you look back and you made it.
Yeah.
You look back and yeah, like you said, I love how we're modifying the path. You know, he's modifying the path that we have set in our mind. I think that's such a grace-filled way or a great perspective, you know, to kind of look at things when the uncertainties come, when the derail of things come, he's just modifying it. There's just grace in it, so that's so good.
Being a mom is so challenging. I think, you know, there's no book, there's no amount of books that you can read. And I think that each situation is unique and different. And, but there's nothing better and nothing more rewarding than being a mom. Like, I love being a mom. I love my daughter, and we just have so much fun together, and there's so much purpose in that.
What do you believe the biggest challenge of motherhood has been for you?
The biggest challenge of motherhood for me, to be honest, is I had my daughter when, like, none of my friends were having kids. I was like a young mom. And so I really had to figure out a lot of things. And then I got a divorce shortly. Like, I never planned on being a single mom. And so I think trying to discover who I was and work through all of my stuff, because now I had this child, and I wish I would have done that work before I had her, you know, because that's hard to, like, do the work on yourself and your identity and, you know, and then, you know, show up and be everything that you're supposed to be for her. And so I felt a little bit guilty about that part. But, you know, I think that's just been our journey.
Yeah.
So.
Now, how have you found your identity?
I think that's an ever evolving journey.
Yeah.
You know, there's different seasons and different chapters, and you're tested on things, and triggers and things can come back up. But you know, going back to my faith, it's so important for me to do the self-reflection, you know, when things pop up or things happen in life, and really figure out, okay, like, just because this happened or I did this, I'm really hard on myself. So I have to really remind myself of, you know, like, who God says that I am, you know, and going back to that. And because the biggest, you know, there's so many voices now with social media and just in general, there's so many voices out there, but the most important voice is your own and what you have to say about yourself. So I think that's been really important as far as my identity has been, and not allowing external things to determine what I believe about myself.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, to your point, social media, I feel like, has done a great job of telling us who we are or who we should be.
Right.
And I did see someone say about, when you just said about what you say about yourself, the most dangerous thing is not about what other people say about you, but what you say about you.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my God, wait, we're so focused on what Joe Blow says and thinks about our crafts, our, you know, our arts, our entertainment, whatever it may be that we are diving into. But in all reality, are you happy with it?
Exactly.
Are you good with it?
Right.
Are you doing this for them? Are you doing it for you and him?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, where are you deriving that from?
Yeah, because if we're constantly trying to do things to please other people or social media or whatever else, it's like, well, then your value and your worth is coming from all these, you know, it's going to be up and down, depending on the day. And that's not a good feeling to feel, you know?
And it's like, that's why you need to click onto something that is permanent.
Yes.
that isn't ever fleeting.
Right.
And speaking with that, I know that you're very vocal about the season that you went through, that you just knew that you had to do a lot of self-reflection.
Yes.
You had to do a lot of inner work. You went through the season of self-love and rediscovering yourself. What was the catalyst for you to get there, and what did that look like?
I came to a point in my life where I was divorced, and I was a single mom now, and that was something that I never wanted to happen, and it happened. So I was like, okay, so now what do we do with this? We can either sit in this, blame, the relationship or whatever else, or we can like grow from this and make this a pivotal moment in our life and grow and change. So I decided to really do the work on myself that I had never really done before. And I was like, man, I don't like you.
I don't like you, and I don't even want to do this work.
I don't want to do this work.
My God, I just went through that.
Yeah, and so like I had a lot of friends and they were well-meaning, but they were like, yeah, you just need to go out and you need to do this and keep busy. And I was like, no, there was something that was like, no, you just need to sit with yourself. Because I had always, I'd grown up in the industry, been around, going out, having fun. And I was like, I never really sat with myself for that long. And I was like, until I feel comfortable being with myself and content with myself, like I actually really love me, I'm not going to date, I'm not gonna do anything. But I really was intentional about my relationship with God and really allowing him to show me why I felt this way about myself. I had a lot of like self-hatred. I had a lot of self-destructive ways, if I can be honest, that no one knew about. I was really depressed inside, and even though I could hide it really well on the outside, and I don't think I even knew until that point that I was feeling that way. Like I think it was like I was subconscious a little bit. And then when I was really fully able to sit with myself and just the pain of everything else I was going through, then it became apparent like, wow, like this wasn't just because of the divorce, right? This wasn't because of, disappointment or feeling like, things didn't work out the way I planned. But like this started long before that. This started in my childhood. And so I had to address, we always talk about childhood trauma and all of this stuff, but it's real. It's real, and it really sets up the course of your life and patterns and your identity and what you believe about yourself. So I went on a journey of really discovering why I felt the way I felt about myself, and I had a lot of childhood abuse that had happened to me that I had never really addressed.
Wow.
And, it's very interesting, your survival mechanisms, because I didn't actually remember anything that had happened to me until I started doing this work. And I think you disassociate, right, to survive. And so when I really figured out and pinpointed like the trigger, like the root cause of why I didn't really love and value myself, then I was able to really sit in that pain and sit and then acknowledge like, wow, this is why I keep choosing situations and why I feel the way I feel about myself. And then I had a choice to forgive and let it go, which is a process.
Which
it's not
is
easy.
So hard, especially knowing that you have to forgive what this thing has, the seed that it was, the root that it was, that then from that root, the tree created,
Yes.
and the branches, and then the branches is the depression, the suppressed anger, the frustration, all those different things. But for you to have the courage to forgive and to walk out your healing is really commendable.
Thank you.
Because it's hard to sit in that. It's hard to self-reflect, but not to self-reflect, it's to actually sit in it and go to the root and see what is there.
Yes, because like you said, it's a tree and there's roots and there's like branches and all this stuff. And so I feel like there is the relationships or the different things that were the symptoms were, but the root was there, and I wasn't even fully aware, because a lot of times we don't really sit and we don't really self-reflect, like get deeper with ourselves. We will pick off the branches and the stuff and then kind of go on with our lives. And then that thing is still there 30 years later.
Yeah.
And so I was determined, like, no, we're not gonna, we're not gonna have this be still there. And that's an act of faith, because I won't say that's easy, or I felt like, oh, like I now acknowledge this, I sit in the pain, and then I give it, and it's over, right? It's like, it's really walking out that healing, but it's an act of faith of giving it to God and saying, okay, like I see all of this, but like please, like help me, like, like take away this pain and, fill me with yourself. And so I just chose to really consistently and relentlessly go after that. I was determined, like that was what was gonna happen. So I would like to say that like I'm healed and I'm totally like, wow.
I was just gonna ask.
But I do think that when you do have trauma like that, it's just you have to be self-aware. Number one, I'm self-aware of things now that could possibly be triggers, but it's also being intentional about knowing my value, my worth, and telling myself and doing the work, consistently, and checking in with myself on a daily basis, because there's always going to be things that come up. And if that's the way that you're wired from childhood, it's not something that is going to be so simple as like addressing that and then that's it.
And it's because it's learned behavior. It's like you are unbecoming to become.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. And I think that's really important to highlight and to kind of shed a light on that. Yes, once you realize that you need healing, it takes some time.
Yes.
It's a process. And have the grace for yourself and understand that this is, thank God you recognized it. Thank God that you knew what it was. But it takes, and even for you to be as transparent as you're still walking it out.
Yeah.
You're there. You're. It seems like you're on the other side.
Yes. Yeah.
But knowing that those triggers that the enemy will, because he will, here you go.
Right.
Here,
Right. I've been really open about my relationship with God, but I think that's really like my foundation. And being self-aware and checking in with yourself daily and not letting things like build up is really important, to just be, aware of your triggers and address those things, when they happen. Yeah. What you say about yourself is so important. So filling yourself, we're filling ourselves with so many things that we're not even aware of, with social media, like, watch a show or whatever else, but we have to be intentional about filling ourselves with the right things.
Yeah, that's good.
And so for me, I make sure that I'm reading a book, that's on, gonna help me, grow, and having the right friends around you that are on the same path as you.
Switching gears a bit.
Yes.
We all just had pretty much most of us had an arduous, tumultuous last few years due to this pandemic and just the huge transition that was kind of thrown at us. What was that season like for you?
Well, I had a 12-year-old daughter.
Yes.
So we had to do virtual school, and that was not fun.
My God.
It was like, so that was not fun at all. I think it definitely put things in perspective for me as far as my life and things that I want to do. It's having so much uncertain and like, wow, like, I don't know if the world's gonna end. I don't know, like, a lot of people that I know didn't make it. A lot of family members I know died, and it just kind of puts things in perspective. Like, what do I want to really do with my life? Like, what do I want my life, my legacy to really be about? What do I still need to do? I feel like, what do I still need to do, you know, with like my life, why I'm here.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of was like nagging at me, you know, the whole time. Like I don't feel like I've really done what I wanted to do with my life.
So it ignited more purpose in you.
Yes, it ignited more purpose in me. That's a great word.
Yes, yes, that's so good.
Yeah.
And what do you feel like that is?
I feel like God has brought me through so many things, and the things that he's brought me through, like I really want to be able to share that with other young girls and their identity. And I really struggled in my identity, and I feel like I'm finally understanding who I am. And I want to be able to share that with, you know, young girls, and so that they don't have to go through their whole lives struggling in the way that I did, and then, you know, finally like figure it out. So that's like my mission.
And was that the igniter or the genesis of the podcast?
Yes, that is the genesis of the podcast, because I was like, okay, I want to share all of these stories and all of these things, but in my personality, because I'm kind of, you know, quirky and silly. But I really, you know, being free is really a process, you know, like I feel like it's just been a very long journey, and it's an ever-evolving journey. And I've overcome so many things in my life, and I really feel like God wants me to share that. You know, I don't feel like everyone's journey, we all learn from each other. We're all on the same, you know, path. So I want to be able to give that away, you know, and so that's where the podcast came from.
I love it. And I always believe, and I always say, the greatest way to serve is to tell your story.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. And that's what you're doing with your podcast.
Yes.
So kind of sitting on the pandemic a little bit, I feel like a lot of us had an opportunity, and some took it, some didn't, to transition out of the old and transition into the new. What do you believe you maybe transitioned out of that you are still trying to transition into, or that you have transitioned into?
I think that I'm trying to transition more into doing things that are purposeful and meaningful to me. And I mean, I have my passions and, you know, things that I love, but I think that's like really a mission of mine, to do things that are more purposeful, more meaningful, more things that are going to benefit others and not just benefit me.
Yeah, that's good. Lastly, here at Butta, we like to talk about all the skin products, skin care, all those things, and we obviously focus on external, but we also focus on internal. What do you do to take care of your internal being?
Have my quiet time. I definitely need my time to myself. And I try to do things that make me happy. I love going on hikes. You know, just doing things that fill your cup are so important, because, you know, we're doing so many things, especially being a mom, you know. When you're a caretaker, you give so much of yourself. And so it's really important to make sure that you're filling that cup back up. And so I try to, you know, figure out different things and make sure I'm spending that time with myself to be able to do that.
If someone, you know, watching is on the journey of self-discovery or self-love that you are on, or wanting to try to tap into this healing, but fear intercepts it because they have to let go of what they're used to, or letting go of the old, what would you tell them? You know, what words could you lend to them that would help them to keep going, to run to their healing, to run to what, you know, just the wholeness for their life?
I think that it was really scary for me to sit with myself, and it was really overwhelming when I really figured out, like, wow, all of this stuff happened to me. Am I ever gonna be able to overcome this? Like, am I too damaged that I'm never gonna be able to have a normal life? I'm never gonna be able to feel loved. I'm never gonna be able to look at myself and actually think that I deserve good things because of all the shame and the guilt and how dirty I felt inside. I would say take it a day at a time. And I think that, you just have to keep on going. And I mean, I think I'm an example of, you keep on going, be relentless about it, and don't give up on yourself, And I think that when you have that type of faith, God will always meet you on the other side. And don't trust your feelings, because your feelings are gonna go, every day change. But to keep on going and to trust that God will always meet you where your faith is.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much. This was an honor, and you just, wow, you gave so much wisdom and so much transparency and so many healing words, so thank you.
Thank you.